Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of In the Booth. Lobo Boys here, high above your favorite ballpark, chatting with those who have an interesting perspective on the game. And well, this is what we call a celebrity get. I don't know what happened. I had to call a guy who called the guy who called the guy, but we got the legend himself, Jerry Blevins, on the show to talk about Fielding Dreams, a celebration of baseball scouts. A documentary is now available on both Amazon and Tubi. Jerry, how's it going, sir?
It's going great. To be considered a celebrity, it's a good part of my day already. This is nice. From a former player to a broadcaster to a celebrity, I'll take it all. It's great to be here with you, Flobo.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? You're the best kind of celebrity. There's like the Beyonce celebrity where like you're a household name and everyone knows you, but like the street corner dads and uncles, you remember Jerry Blevins? Like that's the kind of celebrity we really want. You know what I'm saying?
I literally could not agree with you more. It's the best because people I get to take when I was still playing and living in New York, I could take the 7 train out to Queens and play. And the only people that recognized me were like true fans of the Mets or people that worked at the stadium that I would run into.
Yeah.
And they'd just be like, good luck. Or can I take a picture? So simple. I was never bothered by, my tiny level of celebrity. It was always like fun and cool and convenient. So you're right. I'm at the bottom level, which is the perfect level.
Yeah, I'll send you my self-addressed stamped envelope for an autograph. We're here talking about Fielding Dreams, and this one here is a celebration in the title, but really more is an in-depth look about the scouting process when it comes to Major League Baseball. We talk about putting more of younger players out on display, but who really has access to these younger players first is the scouts. And to say that there are a bunch of unsung heroes is a bit of an understatement, correct?
I think even more so than I even recognized. Scouts in general are such an underappreciated form of talent that people don't often understand what they do, or even if they know what they do, you can't calculate it. It's one of those like intangible things where they develop you. You have to believe in you. And so as a ball player for myself, I was just so naive and so young that all I wanted, I kept my head down and I played as hard as I could chasing this dream. I had no idea, or I was so naive to the behind the scenes goings on where somebody has your back. I just was appreciative of still being able to throw a cap on and play catch every day. It became through, my evolution in the game, through me even like once I retired, being appreciative of the greater things that go into putting Major League Baseball together. And scouts are, at the forefront, behind the scenes, everywhere when it comes to the game of baseball. And so underappreciated truly, but by those in the know, they are given their clout necessarily.
You touched on a good point. When you're a young player, you have a coach that's seen it all and maybe is a little bit grizzled, and they say, hey, keep your head down, keep doing what you're doing, and just you're grinding out. But when you're 15, 16, 17, or even younger than that, it must be going through your mind that, oh, wait, there's someone in the crowd with a notepad, a pen, and a stopwatch. Like, is that, or a accelerometer, is that something that kind of goes through your mind on the player side?
Yeah. Yeah. So my story's kind of weird. I live here in Northwest Ohio. I went to a tiny school, like a farm school. I graduated with under 50 people in my whole class. Didn't recruit it. I'm a left-hander. I was touching 90 out of high school, but I got no looks from colleges just because nobody had ever heard of me or believed what was going on. So I went to University of Dayton in Ohio for academics. My best friend and I, to this day, just saw him yesterday. My goddaughter just turned 10, so we were hanging out. But we went to Dayton to be, students. And we were like, hey, we both love baseball. We're going to try to make the team. So when we get the walk-on tryouts, we're going to do that. So got the poster in the dorm room, went out. I made the team. He didn't. I didn't play my first and second year because I was figuring out the game. Then my junior year, I started to have some success. And so, a scout came up to me, Brian Williams, who actually is my connection to this film. And he's like, hey, fill this out. And I was like, oh, there's scouts here watching me. Like I was so naive. I just wanted to play the game. And I didn't know about things that were happening. So the scout came out and told me, I didn't realize it until it was already in the process of moving along, what the scouting was, what the draft process was going to be. I just wanted to play ball, and I let those guys take care of it. So, I'm appreciative, and I have a more understanding of the way things go now. And I knew, and I'm still in contact with Brian to this day. He works for the Rangers now, and I'll be forever grateful to him, because without him, nobody would have come and seen me or invited me anywhere. Because I got drafted from him. So it's pretty wild. So I never knew any bit of scouting beforehand, and I know a little bit now, and I'll forever be appreciative.
Yeah, shout out to Brian Williams, who is in the Rangers organization, to your point. So let's talk about connections. So Fielding Dreams Celebration of Baseball Scouts has a familiar voice in the booth. The voice over the narrator is you. So talk to me about that. How to exactly go from point A to point C to having you say, okay, script number 1, let's get after it.
Yeah, so that's it. Brian Williams and I. So Brian, our connection is great. So at Dayton, Brian Williams was working for the Cubs, became a scout. Like his first year scouting was my junior year. I was the first player that he really pushed hard for as a scout. We connected on that because we were both kind of, new to the whole thing. And so he was really honest and forthcoming with me, which I appreciate. He's like, excuse me, the Cubs are interested. They don't truly believe me as a scout yet because I haven't earned those stripes. You need to come to Wrigley and throw at this pre-draft workout. And so I did that. And Brian and I came up with the Cubs, got traded in AA, and then ended up having, my 13-year career. But I kept in touch with Brian the whole time because that's my guy. Like he put me on the map. Without his guidance, I never would have made it. And so we would touch base here and there. And one year he was like, I was hanging out. And I think it's his cousin. His cousin is a director. He's like a documentarian. He's like, my cousin and I were, talking over the holidays. And he's like, why don't I do a scout on Baseball Scouts? Because Brian, you have these great stories and unknown, people don't know a lot about scouting. And so Brian and his cousin got this going. And by the time it was a done product, Brian's like, hey, are you interested in narrating this? Because my playing career was done. I was like, you want this voice as Flobo? You got a solid voice. I was like, you sure? I'm no, you're not going to get this level of amazing voice. He goes, no, they want something authentic, somebody, a baseball player or somebody involved that is a human versus just a voice. And so I agreed to come along, and Tracy Halcomb, who came to my house and walked me through it. Like it was I love film, I love documentaries, I love baseball, and I love the people in my life that are close to me. And this was just a perfect combination of everything to see the behind the scenes aspects of what it takes to do a voiceover, to the hours that you put in, to the writing of the script. Like I'm so happy to be a part of a great project, but I'm also just happy as a fan of this aspect of storytelling, to see how it's made. It was so fun. So me being drafted and being a player that Brian signed, and Brian have family connections, and this is how it's come full circle.
Yeah, it's funny how there's also layers of connection there. Brian's cousin, Jim Gilmore, the owner of Arcadia Pictures, it basically teaches the capstone class in broadcast when I went to Flagler College, which is where he was a professor at the time. And Dr. Halcomb does the junior level, but her class is way harder. Dr. Halcomb takes no fools, man. It's really hard. That. If you graduate that class, you've earned your stripes. So it's kind of funny how everything's connected. So talk to me about the actual process of being in the booth and working on the lines. You said that you're not a professional voice artist, but you became one after this. Was it arduous? Was it kind of like an easy peasy experience? Walk me through that.
It was both. I'm a person of preparation, and that's something that carried me through college and especially my career as a baseball player. Without preparation, I wouldn't feel comfortable in those moments. But this was something that was really hard for me. Tracy, or Dr. Halcom, as I put a little respect on that name for you. She deserves it. She sent me out the script, and with my wife, I spent the days that I had it, like just going through it. And it's really hard for me to know what I'm preparing for because I'd never seen it done, couldn't find anything. And Tracy was like, I'll walk you through it. So she literally flew to my house. We recorded it sitting right, I'm in my office right now. We have a little seating section over there. She came down with all the professional recording equipment, and she walked me through, I think it had to have been like 3 hours worth. And that's it, of her like being there with me reading the script by script. She's saying, all right, give it a little bit of this. Okay, try a little bit of that. It was so comfortable for me because I knew I was in good hands, because I knew that Tracy knew what she was doing. And so something that's insecure for me, I don't like my own voice. It's an insecurity from who knows what, something deep-seated in there. But having her be like, that was really good, or try it like this with a little bit more emphasis here. Or she was so good and encouraging for me that I fell in love with the art form. I fell in love with the process, and I felt like she had such a grasp of that she wanted me to do and she had trust in me that it gave me that, like any good coach, that you have a player if you can, as a player, a good coach makes you feel good and confident about yourself when you're about to perform. She did that for me. And I ultimately love how the product and how the film came out. And I'm honored and I'm proud of the work that I've done. Because she walked me through it. She baby stepped me through it, and it was really, really fun.
As a fellow left-handed person who likes to be prepared, I understand 100%. You talked about seeing it and being proud of it, but the first time you saw the final cut of Fielding Dreams, I mean, it must have been surreal to hearing yourself for an hour and a half or an hour and 25 minutes. But give me your impressions of how the story was told and really conveying what scouts go through in evaluating talent.
Yeah. So the first time I watched the actual film without my voice, it's narrated basically the exact same script, and it's not me, so it was great as the director, like so I got to see what it was supposed to sound like, and I got to learn about scouting. Like, I literally learned so much about an aspect of the game that's really important that I didn't know as much about that I thought I did. Seeing kind of the grind that they go through. Baseball is a grind of a sport. It's different than any other major sport in the U.S. We play.
That's what makes it beautiful, right?
It's 100% part of its beauty. It's its uniqueness and the grind of it. But we're not the only ones grinding as players. And I always appreciated, the clubhouse workers, the TV people like that are in my day-to-day, that I see every day, that I know are going through it with me. Sometimes it was hard for me to see outside the box of these scouts, not only the ones that are going to high schools, small towns, colleges, the advanced scouts that are ahead of you by 2 series, checking out the team that you're going to play in a couple of weeks, the minor league scouts that are doing the same grind, except when I was in the minor leagues, we would be on 15-hour bus rides crammed in together, but I'm going through it with my team. A lot of these scouts are going through it by themselves and traveling by themselves and pulling themselves out. When I was in the minor leagues, I was 20 years old, and 21, and I didn't have a family. I barely could, keep myself sustainable. And so it was an easy decision for me. I had nothing to lose. It was minimal sacrifice. Put my head down, play the game of baseball. These scouts sacrifice that same amount of time with their family, but they're established family. This is a wife and kids that they're leaving behind, or a husband and parents that might be going through something. These people are sacrificing on the same level with zero notoriety as much as we get it. So I developed an appreciation watching this film for, I love being humbled and my knowledge of something that I've given my life to in the sport of baseball, and seeing another whole door opened up to things that I had no idea about that go on a day-to-day basis I love it. And
Yeah.
seeing my appreciation for those people that love the game the same way I do and are willing to make the game better by their contributions. I'll forever be grateful, and I learned so much from this movie.
Yeah, I did too. I was fortunate enough to be at the. I'm smirking at this. For those of you who are on the audio version of the debut screening at the National Baseball Museum in Cooperstown, and it was a little bit of fanfare. It was cold because it was upstate New York, and being able to see something so unique to baseball being displayed in a venue was just amazing. And the one question I had at the screening, I want to ask you this as a player as well who went through that process. You got signed by the Cubs and you debuted with the Athletics, right? Back when they were the Oakland Athletics. Can I say, is Oakland a bad word now?
I love Oakland. I'll forever. I like the A's and the organization, but the city of Oakland they have a huge piece of my heart too. So always say Oakland.
All right, Jack London Square, man. I checked it out. Actually, sidebar, I'm a baseball ballpark chaser, and my chase started when I went to go see the Mets at the Coliseum. I was like, I should go to all 30 of these. But so a lot of things that fans don't really realize or really haven't thought about. So what your perspective on this? I know it could be kind of like going through a minefield, but the parity of these organizations when it comes to scouting talent, is it closer than we think among all 30 teams when someone signs someone, or is it really this huge gulfs of the development programs and structures when a talent does get signed with one of the Major League Baseball teams?
There's parity in every aspect of the game. There is haves and have-nots. There are teams that are invested in certain aspects of the game and teams that aren't. It's just a value, and it's constantly evolving. There's teams that cherish scouting, and then we went through this analytical period where they don't care about a lot of teams didn't care about what the scouts see with their physical eyes and their knowledge of the game. All they needed was the stat page, and they can tell everything they needed to know from the stats. So they wouldn't even have to see a player. Well, we're on the other end of that revolution where teams are realizing that analytics are great. They bring an aspect to the game that tell a true story, something that your eyes don't see, that underlying accumulation of data can tell you. But now they're realizing that there's a human element. There is intangibles. There is things that you can't see by a stat sheet. And the scouts are now coming back into their sweet spot again, because, even my former teammates, I've got Craig Breslow and Andrew Bailey, who I came up with the Oakland A's, are now, Breslow is the president of baseball ops in Boston, and Andrew Bailey's a pitching coach. Like, these are my guys. Chris Young, who I played with, is the GM of the Texas Rangers. Like, I have so many of my former players that while I was in towards the end of my career or the middle of my career, there were no more former players in these roles because they didn't value their input, just like they didn't value the scout, because what's a former player going to tell me that stat sheet can't? So now they're starting to realize that this data is coming back. So there's teams that are ahead of the curve when it comes to bringing back in that scouting aspect of it. And there's teams that are going to be behind the 8 ball because they don't want to invest in that. So it's constantly like this, and it'll always be like that because teams buy in, and it takes a lot to invest in your infrastructure and deploy it in a certain way. It takes a lot of guts to do that. And so there are teams, but it's cyclical. Not everybody's going to be at the forefront at all times. We're watching it. When I was growing up, I'm 41 right now. It was the Yankees could just buy everybody, and that's not the key anymore. Right now, it's the Dodgers and what they're doing with free agency, but what they're doing with developing players. And there's always a happy medium. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Sam Fold, my former teammate, with the smartest player I've ever played with. He's at the front office with the Phillies. Like there's no easy formula to winning baseball games, and teams are constantly changing that formula and what they have to invest in. And so there's parity, yes, but it's all about having the right people in place to when something trendy comes along. Do they invest in it, or do they keep to their traditions and standards? So there's no easy winning formula, but there's constant movement within front offices and organizations on who's going to be the first one to properly use this information.
Yeah, I actually appreciate that insight, because I guess on the outside looking in, you kind of think of it as like a pendulum or a scale, right? Analytics and numbers versus the eye, the heart, the grit. But what I'm understanding is that your thing is more like almost like a blended formula, right? Where like each team has their mix, and their mix is proprietary to them.
Yeah, 100%. You're seeing it in the Mariners right now. They brought in Brett Boone, who is an old school hitter. Like, the guy's a smart guy. The Rangers brought in Brett Boone and Edgar Martinez in Seattle. They're bringing in former players because it's not just about like, all right, this pitcher that you're going to face, this is what he throws. Like, analytics it's data. And they say, okay, in this count, he likes to throw this. In this count, he throws this. And then they give you the sheet, and you're supposed to just perform on that. Well, the players aren't machines. Sometimes there's a mental approach, or what are you looking for? Or is there a tell? There's human elements that go into the grind of a daily baseball program. There are a lot of teams they'll have a data analyst, an analytics guy, have this information, and then they'll have a former player be able to translate some of that information to you, but also talk to you about the game of baseball, because ultimately it's the teams that have a good mix of both that have the most success. They're the ones that are capable of having all the data, but also translating it to the player and letting it show up on the field. Swing path and hitting. Like, all right, you're right now they can do bat speed. They're like, well, your bat speed, your swing speed has dropped a little bit, and your bat path is here. Well, you don't want to hear that from a scientist, because what does he know? Like, maybe the ball was a down and away, and it was a changeup, and you slowed it down on purpose. But they're like, well, you get extra base hits when you swing at this speed. Why would you ever not swing at that speed? Well, you don't want to have to talk to and explain yourself as a player all the time for not doing exactly what the book says you're most successful at. So having a voice that's done it before helps a lot, and it helps with the grind of being around, because if you're constantly having to justify maybe doing something that's not by the book, having somebody that can vouch for you and do it on your behalf takes away a lot of that frustration that can build up over the grind of a season.
You talk about the numbers versus the eye, switching gears a bit. A lot of people have told me, perhaps casually, baseball is dying, man. It isn't the cultural cachet isn't there. We're a football nation. But you hear these press releases from the marketing side of MLB saying people are going to more games, people are more interested, there are more kids in the youth sports. I look at this from the scouts' perspective. I wonder if from your opinion, there's a challenge of saying, hey, look, will there be enough talent to even scout? Are kids more into professional Fortnite or other sports? Or maybe it's being blown out of proportion. And from your perspective, what does it look like for the future generation of potential talent?
Oh, that's a deep, deep question.
I got one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, that's multifaceted. We could have a whole other show, multiple episodes of us talking about this, because, I have two boys, 7 and 5. And I have nephews and nieces that are going through youth sports, and it worries me a little bit by how youth sports are being played, the way they're making kids specialize in a sport, the way the parents are having to travel and spend all this money. Travel sports it's cool, but it's also like wild to me watching, my 13-year-old niece for soccer have to go all over the country. It's a lot, and it takes so much input from your whole family. Whereas when I was coming up, I played 3 sports. I was in band. I was able to do everything I wanted. And I think I would have gotten burnt out of baseball if I didn't have the ability to go to basketball season, to go to football season, to, if I had to pick at an early age, I think it would have felt like a job instead of the love that I'm like, all right, baseball season, it's time. Like I get to grab my glove and go out there. I think it's a little bit much on the kids. As far as scouting goes, it's kind of, again, I feel underqualified to answer these questions, and this is strictly my opinion. Mm-hmm. I think some of it's gotten a little bit easier as far as seeing a kid like me, because now they have these perfect games or these like places where everybody can come, like baseball players can come knowing that scouts are going to be there to get eyes on them. They get evaluated and scouts can gather. Obviously, there's still a lot of, holes in the system and people that can't afford to come to these games. And there's still a grind to be had. But I love where baseball is right now. I think Rob Manfred and MLB should be given a lot of kudos for the pitch clock and some of the changes, the anti-shift stuff, because that's data driven too. The shift, the game is exciting to watch again. The pace of play is what I grew up playing and what I love doing. It just got slowed down, and analytics kind of ate into that. But there's so many young superstars in the game right now. There's great black players, there's great Latin players, there's great Japanese players, there's great like white players. There's representation, which I think is so important in coaching staffs and front offices. There's people of every ethnic background, of every color, of every education, high school grad, even, college grads, Ivy educated, foreign players. There's just every aspect of the world is represented in baseball in some form or another. There's women in baseball now, in broadcasting, in coaching staffs. We're at a good point. It's an easy, like, fans of the sport of baseball. If I were a kid, I would have so many different superstars to choose from. Ken Griffey Jr. was the guy I loved growing up because he had fun with the game. He had that sweet left-handed swing. He had that smile, like charisma. There's a lot of really good, talented young players in the day that have an incredible skill level, but also have the ability to put on a show. And that's where we are in the game. There's a lot of youth sports, all that, but I really love where baseball is in the culture. I think baseball is on the way up when it comes to where we are in the landscape of the U.S. and America's. Football's king right now, and it should be. I love the game of football. I enjoy watching it, but I think baseball will forever always have a piece, and I think they have a chance to get back on top at some point, but it'll never go away, especially with the way the product on the field is right now.
Yeah, it's funny because especially from the Black American perspective, there was talk about representation and how important that was. You mentioned swingman, Ken Griffey. I was a big Frank Thomas fan. I grew up a Mets fan back when I feel like an old man. Back in the days, the leagues were split, right? I just appreciated how Frank Thomas would come to town, smack around the Yankees, and leave. That to me, it was always great because beating the Yankees is always fun. So I understand that. And 2 seasons ago, I got a call from Major League Baseball for a commercial. They were doing an advertisement for this app called MLB Play, and they wanted someone to like be at the face of it. And I still exist. Hey fans, check out this app. And I show up to the commercial thinking it's going to be like one of those where it's a crowd of people saying, "Oh, I love it, I love it, I love it," and it was just me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't think that was even possible. that seeing a commercial for a baseball product, having someone like me be the pitch man for it was pretty cool. One of those highlights in my sports fandom life. So I'm with you.
That's awesome. I remember seeing you. Like I've seen Yeah, that's I love that.
They're like, take two, you can win $5.6 million. Just so good times, good times.
That's great.
Let's talk about something that you are an expert in, and that is being in the post-game shows and pre-game shows at SNY for the New York Metropolitans. Again, my favorite team of all time. I'm so excited because I get to see you every night with that ball telling me what is break, what is lateral movement, what is prognation. Tell me all about that. How'd you get that involved? How'd you pick up the phone? And what's your experience with it so far?
Oh my gosh, I love doing it. Thank you for the nice words, by the way. That's really kind. I want to tell you, that reminded me, like, people know you from that app, and I did as well. There was a time in New York City where I was more recognized, not for my baseball, but because of a PSA I did about turning left. in the cabs, I would pop up in uniform and be like, be safe on turning left. Watch out for, so you don't run into pedestrians. I swear, on more than one occasion, I would like be walking down the street, or somebody would catch me on the train and be like, I know you. And I just assumed it was baseball. I was like, oh yeah. And she's like, no, you turn left, guy. And I was like, that is hilarious.
It's like, thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, no, I thought it's so. I mean, only in New York City, like, so
Right.
cool.
Love my town.
But the media stuff, man.
Yeah,
I love it, and I love working. SNY is unbelievable.
the best.
The level of talent. Again, this is a New York thing. If you're at a job in New York City, you're so talented and you're so highly skilled because there's so much competition that you're the best of the best. If you have a job most of the time, you're an incredible at your job. And maybe it's just because I've been with the Mets, from stadium workers and front office and behind the scenes, but at SNY, it's the same. Gary Apple, who's my partner in the booth, I was so nervous because I don't know any of the procedures, and Gary still makes it so easy. That guy's an unbelievable human as well as at his job. He steers the ship. And if I was stumbling early in my go, I knew he was going to be like, you're fine. Put his arm around me in a professional sense and walk me through getting back on track. Like, it was so easy to be able to do, and watch Todd Zeal do his thing. I was able to like figure out what his persona was and how he went about it, and watched his prep. And I was able to figure out what it was, because this is all brand new. And for me, I love it because I love New York City. I live in Northwest Ohio. I love it here. My mom's here. My brother's here. My in-laws are here, all within like a 2-hour drive of everything. My whole family's here. So I will never leave my family, because when I was playing, I was gone the whole time. So I still carry a lot of guilt and regret, not regret, because the people that I left, and I missed the lives, and I missed weddings and funerals and birthdays, they're the family that sacrificed for me. They wanted me to have it even more than I wanted it. They were pushing me to chase this crazy dream, and I gave up a lot of that. That's the sacrifice that I put in, that family time. When my niece is 23. I missed so much of her life because I was gone all the time. All my decisions were based around baseball. And so now that I'm done playing, I wanted to be around. So I go to baseball games. I go to football games. I'm there for, a recital. I'm there for a choir concert, for 7th grade. But I still love the game of baseball, and I still love New York City. I love the ability for me to fly out to New York, do a series or two, be close enough to the game. I'm in New York City, whether they're in San Francisco or LA or, Chicago. I don't have to travel and grind like I used to. I still get to be at home. I still stay close to the game of baseball. I get to be on TV and stay relevant, which I didn't think I would. I missed being, I guess, important a little bit. Like, I missed having that spotlight, and I never thought that about myself, but it's the truth. So I get that live TV jolt of adrenaline where it's on. That's a little bit of competitiveness. I enjoy it because I can see myself getting better I can train certain aspects of it. I can learn different aspects of the game. It keeps me sharp, keeps me in the game. I get to work with incredible people at SNY and stay close to the Mets, who I have two loves in baseball. It's the A's and the Mets. And I get to stay involved with a little bit of both of them at certain aspects. But with SNY, they keep me around the game. I just love doing it. I feel like I'm pretty good at it. And I always want to challenge myself, and I keep getting better. But at the same time, I don't have to grind out the travel like guys in the booth do. I don't have to leave my family all the time. I have bits and pieces enough to where I don't feel too guilty when I'm gone all the time of being gone. And my wife lets me and helps me with the scheduling on where I can be and when I can go. And we set the schedule, and SNY is really open to my schedule. I get to do work as much as I want and not forced to do more. I'll be forever grateful for everybody there. Like the CPs, they're all great, but I love doing it. I love being close to the game. I love sharing knowledge and talking about Pro Nation and Super Nation and what they're doing. And I enjoy sharing some knowledge with the fans that maybe they might not have known otherwise.
This guy is so humble. I think I'm good. You got the whole city trying to do a Vulcan change at home. Like, I think I'm good.
I literally, to this day, like, I'll be holding that. I'll be like, man, if only they knew this when I was big.
Right. Kind of a sidebar, not to make this interview about me, but I have a pro wrestling podcast. It's called Draped in Gold. And the gimmick, if you will, is that we treat it as if it's a sport. So people say kayfabe or treat it if it's real, but we treat it as a sport. And I can tell you, I completely ripped off Gary Apple. His cadence, his start, like the setting the table for your co-host, make sure they have a chance to jump in. Like, I don't think people realize like how good that man is at his job. And so the fact that you get to be in the booth under the learning tree, I'm kind of jealous, to be honest.
I'll tell you what, he truly is like, I'm limited. I don't know, but he is so damn good at his job. I've seen, I got to watch Jacob deGrom pitch on a day-to-day basis. Frank Thomas was my teammate, in Oakland. I got to watch the best of the best do their jobs. Gary Apple is amongst the best of the best at what he does. Like, it's truly amazing. I'm fascinated. I'll be sitting in the booth and watching him read the prompter, and I literally will be like, shoot, cook, dude. Like, he's so good. He is also the nicest person I've ever met, like equal to like Jim Thome and Mike Sweeney as the nicest human beings on the planet. He's an amazing husband and father. Like, I look up to him as a dad from dad to dad. He has two wonderful daughters. The guy is truly like a saint on earth, and he is incredible at his job.
So about the job that you do, it's kind of interesting how you bookend the evaluating talent, much like the scouts do at the beginning of a career. You're doing it in the midst of a game. And well, they say baseball is a game of inches, but I think it'd be even smaller if we actually had a smaller unit that was kind of, imperial. But the idea of like going with a talent and understanding changes and what may be off in one day, that must have been kind of a surreal thing to be on the evaluator side.
It is. It's weird, and it started kind of right off the bat. Going into the clubhouse again as an ex-player, it's weird because I have so much respect for the clubhouse. It is their clubhouse. It's the players' clubhouse, and I didn't know how to transition because I still have friends. I have former teammates on that team right now, like Nimmo's there, McNeil's there. I played with these guys, but what's the line? Where do I have to be? And I talked to so many of my former team, like Dallas Braden, who's with the A's. He's the reason why I have a baseball in my hand at all times, because he told me, because I never knew what to do with my hands, because when you're standing, especially on camera, most like guys have pieces of paper or whatever it is. It didn't feel right. He goes, just grab a baseball. I was like, genius, because what's more comfortable to me than holding on to a baseball? And it gives me that little bit of nervous thing. But I would talk to Ron mostly about that aspect, and he gave me a really good couple of pieces of advice that I wrote down. One is, I asked him about being critical about players. how do you go about that? And he said, Jerry, I never say anything about a player that I wouldn't say to him in his face at his locker.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, because if I'm being critical, it's mostly because of somewhere I would appreciate it on my end, on the other end. And he goes, if I wasn't comfortable saying it to a player's face, then I'll never say it on TV. And I took that to heart, because if it's as a player, if I'm getting interviewed, or if I have if the booth is being critical of me, did I deserve it? That kind of thing. And so I want to make sure that whatever I say, if it's criticizing a player, that I would be willing to sit down face to face, and I've stuck to that, and I'll forever be grateful for that for Ron as well. And he also told me,
Ron Darling. Yes.
Yeah, Ron Darling. Sorry. Yeah. So the Mets, for the non-Mets fans, we have the best TV booth in the game and the best radio booth in the game. Like the ways to consume New York Mets baseball, I don't know if the fans feel like they appreciate it, because Gary, Keith, and Ron, Gary Cohen, best in the biz, Keith Hernandez, one of the great personalities in the game, super smart, and Ron Darling, they're the best in the biz, voted regularly. And then DeMarsico and all the people behind the scenes are amazing too. And then you have, Howie Rose on the radio, and Keith Rad, who's a fellow Dayton Flyer, but he's their partners. They're all Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers. It's incredible. But I get to pick their brains, and Ron and I are a lot closer in conversation than Keith and I. Keith and I, have talked, and we're friendly. But Ron and I have that pitcher connection, I guess, where I felt just more comfortable approaching him and talking to him about it. I'll shoot him a text, and he'll just impart knowledge on me on occasion. And it was the main thing was being critical of players, and learning how to do that. And another one was just being comfortable with sharing your knowledge. He goes, Jerry, you've been around the game of baseball so long that some of the things that you find interesting, or little bits of knowledge that you're watching the game, you're taking for granted, whereas the people at home aren't going to know what it is. He goes, so anything that like piques your interest, bring it forward. And Gerard Guilfoyle's another one. He's a CP for SNY. He's the guy that like teaches me what to do, and he's given me tons of advice. He gives me these little bits of knowledge too. And so I'll forever be grateful for the people around me for helping me, do what I do. It's so fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really, really smart. Even when you're first starting out with the game, just surrounding yourself with like the mentors and coaches you need to make sure you're on that path to improve. And that's what we're here for. But as someone who is a lifelong fan, someone who's from New York, someone that's in the baseball content side, I don't think I'm a journalist, but the content side, it is really, really cool to watch. You guys grow as a unit, and a rotating unit too. Like, it isn't just like the A squad. There's people on the bench that get flipped in and swatted out, and it still works. And that's, you have a strong organization top to bottom. So
and they truly are incredible. I mean, Daniel Murphy coming in the booth now, he's doing great. He's got such a fun knowledge for hitting. He goes about hitting the way I think about pitching. He's got a unique vocabulary with what he says, and he's got that super deep voice, and he's so early in the game. If he wants to do this, he could do it. Like, does he want it? That'll be interesting. And again, the talent with which people rotate in and out of pre and post game. This will be inside. Pre and post game is way harder than being in the booth for me.
Okay.
For me personally, being in the booth is your prep work, right? You and I, we talked about being prepared, know the team, know the streak, watch the games as they go along, keeping notes. But when you're in the booth, it's just watching the game of baseball and talking with Gary Cohen most of the time about baseball, which is about as easy as it is. And having little observations. The trick is when to talk, when to open, and that just comes with reps, when to lay out, that kind of thing. The booth, like that's comes more natural to me. It's harder for me doing pre and post game because I have to develop a narrative. I have to, think about how to break down video and what are we going to talk about this aspect and segment 2. And it just is a little bit harder and more unnatural for me to try to chop video together and talk about it. It just takes more prep, more work. You're there before the game by a significant margin. You're there after the game by a significant margin. It's just different. The actual game aspect of it to me comes a little bit more naturally, but I love both sides of it.
When you go to a game now, off the clock, you go to a game now with yourself, your family. How does Jerry take in a game? Do you sit behind home plate? Are you up in the top deck? Are you a pretzel guy? Are you filet mignon? Like, what?
There's no wrong way for me to take in a baseball game. I am a hot dog guy with just ketchup, which is blasphemy to a lot.
No, let's go. Shout to ketchup. It's there for a reason.
Yes, that's right. I love just ketchup on it. Simple. Give me a beer. Give me an Arnold Palmer. Whatever the case may be. I'll move around a lot. If I'm not with my family, if I'm with my family, I stay. Kind of keep around the family, keep the kids, whatever. But I love just the game of baseball live is so fun for me because I'll watch every different aspect of it. I'll see how a pitcher's doing. I read body language. I soak in the game at the stadium, and mostly in a little bit of nostalgia because I could relive running out onto the field preparing for an inning, but also just in appreciation for the game of baseball itself. I'll forever be grateful to having played a small part in the game of baseball, for it to have supported my life and my family and provided for me. I just appreciate the game. I appreciate the players on the field. I appreciate the grounds crew for keeping that thing pristine. Like, I notice all these things, and now being on this side of stuff, even when I was playing, I would get to know like the ticket sales and just try to interact with everybody that I can to show my appreciation. I just enjoy the game of baseball wherever I can, however I can watch it. I love watching the game of baseball be played, and at whatever level. Like, I enjoy watching my 7-year-old son's little league team. I love watching. There's this kid on our team that had never played baseball before, but he's a ball player. Like, I could see it click in his brain, and it creates a spark of joy in me to watch a kid who his parents didn't play, but seeing him, and this is his first time, and he hit that ball for the first time, and he had like a natural little athleticism to him.
Yeah. Seeing
it, and then watching him smile when he fielded a ground ball for the first time. Like, I love seeing that level of it. And then I love, getting a chance to watch Edwin Diaz throw 101. Like, there's just so much nuance to every aspect and level of baseball that I find beautiful, like poetry in motion. I love the game of baseball, and I love all aspects of it.
That's amazing to hear. Because typically I would say like, well, sit in the back. But like, no, man, get yourself in the building and feel the vibes.
Yeah, man. I love TV baseball because you get to hear and see it, and you get to like. So you like wrestling? You're a wrestling guy.
Yeah,
I have plenty of friends that love wrestling. I think it's a story being told. MMA, to me, is a different form of that kind of combat sport. MMA, hockey are my two favorite live sports to go see. It's like there's this uplifting, pure adrenaline. Like, seeing a guy that knows that he's about to like truly battle someone, like go into war. I can't imagine that mental, because baseball, you got to like talk yourself through the mental aspect. My favorite parts. I love seeing that live. I love seeing baseball live, but football for me is a TV sport.
True.
For me, like, I'm not a tailgate guy. I'm not going to go chug 35 beers and sit in the parking lot for 4 hours before the game. It's just not for me.
Not with that attitude. I mean, you gotta commit to it.
Yeah. It's not for me. And I love the Bengals, and I love everything about the Bengals. I've been to a bunch of games, but I miss seeing like, all right, what happened there? Like, where was that play? Did you see? You don't get to see the footwork, or the guy jump off sides, or that incredible catch, or the cornerback that just tipped the ball. You don't get to see the nuances and finer details of the game. Baseball, to me, is the perfect sport of both. The game at the stadium, you get to see everything depending on your view. You get to watch the spacing and see the flow of that and feel the momentum in the stadium. It's a beautiful game to watch live. It's fun. It's slow enough to where you can go grab a beer and a hot dog, go to the restroom, and come back and have time. It's the perfect game for TV too, because you watch a pitcher and you can check out grip, and you can see a hitter about ready to steal the base. You can see him inching forward and that narrative being told. It's just the best of both worlds for me. I like it live, and I like it on TV. It's perfect.
I'm kind of, we're about the same age. I'm
Yeah.
be 40 next month by the time we record this, and I feel like we got kind of caught in between the old school slow baseball, appreciated for the lack of the leisurely pace, and this kind of combat to get the quickest sport possible among all sports because of the whole short attention span thing. And so it's been my adult's work to get casual fans to go to games and experience it in different ways. But you're absolutely right. What is cool about that is it isn't like, oh, I'm going to blink and miss everything. And you can really get into the vibe and the temperature and feel yourself in the seat and take things slowly. Or if you really want to look at stats and score the game, you can be involved in every single play. There's so many layers there to experience the game, and that does make it beautiful, for sure.
It's a beautiful game.
Yeah. We're talking about Fielding Dreams, a celebration of baseball scouts with the Jerry Blevins as we wind this down here today, man. I mean, being in the presence of legends is always great. As the show is on Tubi and Amazon Prime right now, as we record this, what is something that you want fans to take from if they decide to check it out today or whenever they have a free evening?
Yeah, if you're a baseball fan, you're going to learn through Fielding Dreams. You're going to learn about a beautiful aspect of something it takes to put together an organization. This is more on the side of things for me on how the sausage gets made, if you will. These are people that are the lifeblood of baseball and scouts that never get brought to the forefront as far as the fame or regular knowledge. These are the people that vouch for a certain player, that scout ahead, that make an organization run successfully. This is, we're Mets fans right now. Scouting is huge with what Steve Cohen as the new owner brought in, and David Stearns, all these people at the front office. Scouting is one of the biggest investments that they've put forth, in the sense that they understand that developing players is the key to sustained success. It's what they want to do, and what all the really successful sports baseball teams right now, they're trying to build a team that can be competitive every year for years to come. Winning a World Series is the ultimate dream, but that is more a thing of chance. Building a team that every year is capable of winning the World Series, that is a thing of skill. And scouts are one of the main aspects on building an organization that is competitive every year. They scout your draft picks. They're the guys that help pick out talent that can grow in your organization. They're the guys and girls that pick out trade targets where maybe another team doesn't value this player that's in the minor leagues and they don't see his potential, but your trusted scout says, target that guy in a trade. They'll throw him in for nothing because they're like, what does this guy have? You bring him over, you develop him, and all of a sudden he's a cornerstone of your championship caliber team. This is what makes real organizations, competitive organizations. These are the people that make it a sustainable product. And seeing what they're capable of doing, their love for the game is as good as mine, and just as worthy and just as important to the game of baseball as a player itself.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I think we're friends, man. We're lefties. We love preparing stuff. We're pro ketchup. I think we're simpatico, bro.
I couldn't agree more. Flobo and Jerry, we're on the same level. Any lefty, first of all, I see lefty in the wild. I'm like, hey, what's up, fellow lefty? Like all the time. We just have a connection. Like it's minimalist of somebody that gets what you're going through on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, I think we got it.
Fabulous. And it's funny you said you have an affinity for both the Athletics and the Mets. In my experience here, as I live in California, I'm from New York. Those two caps are really worn by people who were fans of the baseball team. Not like it was on sale, like I needed something to cover my head. So I've been around the world and I see a Mets cap. I'm like, if I've seen an Athletics cap in Japan. I'm like, are you an A's fan? How'd you know? And it's so cool that you see someone in part of your tribe, you can just like say, I get it. I acknowledge
That,
it.
and
So,
the Mets and the A's will forever be on the similar aspect. When the team was in Oakland, the shining star that is the Yankees, that's the Giants. They're in the beautiful city and in the stadium. There are tons of Giants fans, some that are just there for tourism and they want to be, it's cool to be a Giants fan. But if you see an A's fan or you see a Mets fan, somebody wearing a Mets cap or an A's cap, that's a baseball fan. That's the blue collar worker. That's somebody getting out there doing it. It's becoming really cool to be a Mets fan, by the way. And there's going to be some tourists that just want to don that, that purple color,
right.
the 7 line on the City Connect jersey that has some purple in it. It's cool to be a Mets fan, but the A's and the Mets to me are very similar when it comes to their fan base.
Man, I'm with that 100%. Thank you so much for your time, man. If you have anything you want to promote or if you have any people where they can contact you or connect with you, now's the time.
So if you're a Mets fan, I have a Mets podcast with my boy Jack Olive, Jolly Olive. It's called Shea Station. That's what we're here. Come check it out. Fielding Dreams. It's the reason why we came together. I absolutely love this film. Please, Tubi and Amazon Prime, go out, check it out. If you love the game, you're supporting not only people that love baseball, you're supporting filmmakers that are excellent at their job, documenting something that I'm loved and I'm happy to be a part of it. On the other end of the scale, I also have a bourbon company called Field of Dreams Bourbon. Me and 2 of my former teammates, Drew Storen and Tyler Clippard, we take the corn from the Field of Dreams out in Dyersville, Iowa. We turn it into bourbon. You can go to drinkfieldofdreams.com. We have a Father's Day special. We have 2 different SKUs. It's excellent bourbon. We have a player series where we release 1 for each player that's ever worn a uniform. They're all hand numbered. Like my number is 19230. So if you get that bottle with that number on it, that is you can check it out on Baseball Reference. It's connected to that. And then we have our small batch, which is the white label. We have Legends of the Game, their topper. We put their likeness through licensing on a topper, and we cover it with cellophane, or not cellophane, but we cover it. You don't know which player you got, which former player you got until you get it home. It's like opening a pack of cards. So they're collectible. We love it. We've got the Father's Day special coming up on. You can get a good deal on buying a few. Drinkfieldofdreams.com if you're into that kind of thing. Drink responsibly.
Kind of a side part here, not the whole point of that advertisement, but Tyler Clippard made glasses cool, bro.
Dude, are you a Baseball Reference guy?
I'm trying to get into it. I'm actually a novice. I'm a novice.
That's the nerdy side for me, like Fangraphs, all that. But Baseball Reference, yeah. Tyler Clippard, my dear friend, he's good at everything. He did make glasses look cool. I'll tell him you said that. He'll be pumped. The greatest setup man of all time, statistically.
Oh. Whoa.
And he also this is a fact. He's the best reliever, best right-handed pitcher against lefties in the history of baseball too. Completely underappreciated.
Wow.
And just so you know, our small batch is 99 proof, and our co-founder, our CEO, Drew Storen, has 99 career saves. So we got a little connection there. So we have a lot of fun with it.
I'm going to check that out after this. Thank you so much for being on the show, Jerry, man. You gave me a lot to think about. Fielding Dreams, the celebration of baseball scouts, is available now. You got to check it out. Thanks to Acadia Pictures for making this show possible. You got to make sure, if you see the show, to review it on IMDb or on Tubi or on Amazon.com to make sure you get the word out. Thank you.
Please review it. It actually does amazing things for the algorithm and moving things forward. Review it, leave a comment, whatever you got to do. Thank you so much for having me on, Flobo. Thank you guys for hopefully checking out the film. It's wonderful. I'm proud to be a part of it.
Go to Industry